welcome back to Not Enough Projects. Today we're back on this 1948 Packard Super 8. Last time we were working on this thing, we got the engine running probably the best it has in 50 years. This time we're going to be going through the drivetrain, making sure everything's squared away so that this thing can be a driver. We're going to start off by checking all of our drivetrain fluids and finally be digging into our rear brakes. So let's start digging in. Alright, so I got our new fluid. I went with 85-140 GL5. We'll just put that in everything and we should be okay. Should take a couple quarts, I think. Maybe like a quart and a half. Okay. Okay. Filled up on the differential. Let's see what kind of fun we got back here in the transmission and overdrive unit. There might be a small leak somewhere. Also, I don't even know what this is for. No, it's an electrical connector. Not sure what that plugs into. So this should be our drain for the overdrive unit, fill for the overdrive unit. And for the transmission, there is probably our fill and possibly our drain right there. Hopefully these plugs come a little easier, huh? Oh yeah. Place your bets. What's coming out? Yeah, it looks okay. Not too bad at all. The fluid capacities for these are really pretty small. I think it's like a quart each. And they actually share oil, so that's why. Okay, that should be fine. Guess I should have made sure that the fill was gonna budge, but I think it will. Yeah, no problem. Huh, look, it's got safety wire on that. It's like an airplane. Okay. Drain the trans. Where was the drain? Over here. Okay. Oh, that's the fill. There the drain is. This oil looks pretty good too. Top both those off. I think you fill the overdrive unit first and then the transmission. And then I'm going to go around and grease all the grease zerks I can find. So after that we should be good, I think. Alright, so I got everything greased up and you may notice that. This is an air filter that I'm hoping we can make work. So the original air filter is really thin. It's like that big, which is pretty much unobtainium these days. So this is the closest filter I could find. We're going to see if it clears the hood. It's going to be real tight. And if it does, then we need to extend our stud here, and then we will have an air filter. If that doesn't work out, no big deal. I can do some more searching, might be able to find something online. And we can just run it without an air filter for now, or with a foam filter or something. So let's get the hood back on, and then test it. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to deal with our windshield, which is covered in overspray. So what I'm going to use is some Quad Zero steel wool and a little bit of soap water, and that should pull it all right off. You see it all coming off. Get a rag and then we should be good, because as it is you cannot see basically at all. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but it's a big improvement. Alrighty, so I think we got a little bit of footage of the first little test ride on the road, and it did not go well. Ooh, she pulls. The brake drums are way out of adjustment. That's okay. Did see the generator charging, so that's a win. questionable. drive this thing slow. The brakes are extremely sketchy. I think I forgot to adjust the fronts at all, which you can see by the fact that this freewheels for ever. So the rears, and maybe one of the rears, is about all we got. So it pulls hard when you brake, and you gotta brake hard. But that should be an easy fix. And then we'll check our alignment. We may have some worn out suspension stuff. It feels a little weird. But again, maybe that's just the brakes. Also, it did die once going down the road. I thought about it, and I forgot one thing, which is definitely going to have an impact, which is the little carbon rotor button that goes in the cap. If you remember right, it's got that spring and then a little bit of carbon or graphite or whatever, and it contacts the rotor button. So without that, the spark's having to jump, you know, a solid 1/4 inch plus gap, which is going to take a lot of the energy. So I put that back in. That's probably going to help. And also our accelerator pump linkage needs some adjustment, I think, because we're still bogging pretty hard with throttle input, and there's not a whole lot of fuel flow. So we will adjust that, but first up, we got to adjust our front brakes. All we got to do is go in from the back and turn the star wheel adjuster until it just starts to rub, and we should be good. Should not be doing that. Alright, that is significantly better. Let's feel what the pedal's like now. It actually felt fine before. Sometimes when you got them way out of adjustment, they'll go to the floor. Oh yeah. So it's certainly engaging higher up, no doubt about that. So I'm gonna go and check the rears now. Let's also make sure our fronts are still releasing, which I bet you they are, seeing as how we just went through them. She loosened up a little bit. Oh, that's okay. I think I'm gonna give that another couple clicks. Probably the pads or the shoes got cocked one way, and when I engaged it, it recentered it. So anyways, I'm just going to adjust them to where they were before for front and rear, and then it should be good there. Alright, so we're going to have to deal with our rear brakes because both sides are locked up, and they lock back up after braking. So for whatever reason, our shoes are not returning, and I don't think it's a brake line issue, because I unhooked one of the bleeders and no pressure came out and it was still stuck. So for whatever reason, our rear shoes are not returning. They're probably just gummed up or something, but who knows until we pop her apart. So I'm gonna have to either get a new puller, or we can try the puller we got and I'll just heat a bunch, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in that. So anyways, haha. Broke a puller, well, we're real close to breaking this puller too, but I got the drum free on this side, so it took a whole lot of heat, a whole lot of hammering. I might loosen this up so you can see. Well, you'll see when it comes off. I need both hands. Victory! I was worried I cooked the seal inside, and I mean, to be fair, it's not looking very good, but if we look at our heat gun, it looks like it only got a couple hundred degrees in there, so I would think it'd be okay. Looks like it has been leaking a little bit though. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think it should be doing that. Maybe doing bearings on this, but first things first, let's figure out why our brakes are not working. I think it probably has something to do with that. Guessing a seized cup, maybe? Yep. Alright, so we're pulling that wheel cylinder. On the plus side, looks like the brakes were just done. No rust jacking or anything on the shoes. Look at them, they look brand new. This is cool enough to touch. Oh yeah, look, it's brand new. Man, let me tell you, that was a battle. What ended up doing it is I got it as tight as I could by hammering, and I whacked as hard as I could on that. Kind of worried I was gonna mess up the bearings or something, but at that point, not a whole lot I could have done. So I guess let's get this side disassembled and pop the wheel cylinder out. Everything's still a little toasty. Okay, orange was towards the front. Honestly, I think we can leave it at that point because everything else is okay. Probably would be a good idea to pull the adjuster out and lube that up. That is a little worrying to me. I think that axle bearing is completely shot. I mean, not a huge deal. I guess worst case, we already got the torch out, huh? Also, I was thinking about it, and I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but during that first test drive, when we took it on the road, it was wandering all over the road. And I was thinking maybe it was worn out front suspension stuff, which maybe it still is. But it could have just been one of the rear brakes dragging unequally, which would obviously make it pull. Oh yeah, we're good. Alright. Yeah. Not looking great in there. I don't know, what do you guys think? What, clean up with a hone? I don't know if these are going to come apart very well. They kind of worked, so one of the cups is free. Ugh. Obviously, that's the one that was hanging us up. Well, can we make a pipe bomb? Let's do it. Yeah, before we go pressurizing, let's give her a little tap to frame up. Man, I could have sworn these were kind of working. Definitely one of them was, because I remember I was locking up the rear tires. Okay, let's see if this will do it. I kind of doubt it. Stand clear. Yep. Cover it up. Oof. I'm not putting full pressure into it right now, but it's not ideal. Maybe I'll set this on the ground where I can hammer full force and give her the what for. Yeah, let's see. It kind of moved. Whew. We'll see how she hones up, I don't know. I'm worried I'm going to break through on this little piston. This sharp screwdriver probably isn't the smartest thing. Alright, I'm done asking. First one. Okay. Yeah. Let's bring this to the bench. We have what used to be brake fluid combined with zinc rust or aluminum rust, whatever this is. You can see we're to form that piston. Should be totally fine though. Seals are still in pretty good shape. Let's just reuse them. Just kidding. They're like $4 at the auto parts store or something. Let's see, it's a 15/16 seal. Let's see what the manufacturer for this is. Wagner Lockheed. I think these are the original wheel cylinders. Look at that rubber. Honestly, I mean, ain't too bad. There's a nick on the edge, but In a pinch, you could reuse that for sure. This spreader disc is in pretty good shape. The other one, not so much. So, I can't remember if the kits come with those or not. It's been a while. Main thing though, what does our cylinder look like? Pretty gross. I don't know how well she'll clean up. We'll see. Let's grab the hone and find out. Some WD's lubricant. There we go. Place your bets. Obviously that was just first pass, but all the gross rust should be off. Now we're looking just at fine pitting and stuff. Honestly, not bad. Let me get this a little more cleaned up and I'll show you. I would say serviceable. Then again, I'm not risk adverse, you would say. So, not bad. There's pitting, obviously, but main pitting is pretty deep in there, and it's mostly a stain. So I'm not really too worried about that. This side's a little worse, but I think a little more honing and she'll be all right. Luckily, this isn't like an engine where hone padding is really important. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, good as new. Well, pretty much. No big scratches or anything. That's the main thing, is big scratches that go this way. The seal will not seal that, obviously. Maybe I'll hit this side a little bit more, but I'm pretty happy with that. And 15, 16 3-build kits should be very easy to find local. So that's good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Not going to complain. I don't think rebuild kits come with these, if I remember right, so we're going to need to probably clean these up. No big deal. And then everything else I think comes in a new kit. So, I guess I will go pull the other side and we'll take a look at what's going on in there. Alright, that one came off significantly easier. The bearing in this one feels way better. I mean, you see the seal actually looks pretty good. So we'll have to figure that out for the other side. Doubt I can get that local, but we'll see. Maybe it shares. So same story on this side. Brand new shoes. Looks like brand new hardware and everything. Brand new drum. Not even rust on it, which is kind of crazy after sitting so long. So I'm going to take this apart. We'll get the wheel cylinder on the bench. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And see what we're dealing with. Alright, so I'd say about the same. One side that looks okay-ish, the other side that's pretty bad. I would say that's definitely the source of our sticking brakes. Should be able to push that in. So anyways, I'm gonna go hammer time on this and we'll see how the bore looks. Alright, so some nastier stuff than the other one. Also, this came out. I don't even know what that is. This looks like a pebble or something. It's so weird. Anyways, again, one side rotted on this little spreader thing. Oh man, look at that thing. It's like Play-Doh now. Wow. Oh, one thing I almost forgot to show you guys. I don't think this puller had any more poles left in it. That one's okay. But definitely getting ready to split. So, definitely not super impressed with that puller, although this is probably a little beyond what it, a little beyond the force it's supposed to take. And to be fair, it was the cheapest one I could find on Amazon, but did the job. Well, the second one did. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. I would say serviceable. A little bit of pit in there, but again, you can't feel it or anything. That pitting in the center you can feel, but that's inside of the seal's travel, so it's no big deal at all. Alright, I'm gonna go track down some seal kits and see if I can find a bearing for that one side, and we'll go from there. Alright, so surprisingly enough, I was able to find everything we need locally, including a bearing. I don't know, I'm not 100% about the seal yet, but apparently these rear ends are different from the kind of usual design today, where you have an inner axle bearing and then it's lubricated by the gear oil inside of the rear end, and then there's an oil seal on the outside. The bearing's actually separate from the oil. You grease the bearing and then that's a grease seal, so it's not as critical, I would say, because the grease obviously doesn't flow quite as much as gear oil, although it still does. Also, apparently there's a preload adjustment on these. They have a shim that goes in. I guess we'll just figure it out once we get everything unbolted, but I guess we'll start off by removing the axle and checking out the bearing. So I think we gotta remove this retainer. Okay, so here are the shims I was talking about behind this. I don't know if that's rust water or ancient grease. Probably ancient grease. And here's our grease seal, which is petrified. Zero chance we find a new one of those local. And it's actually got a little bit of give to it. Keep that out of the drum. And there's our bearing. I guess our backing plate can come off too. Oh, I'm not going to touch that. Alright, and then we have this shim behind the backing plate. We'll leave that for now. So, it looks like it's the axle moving around in the bearing. So I'm wondering if the axle needs to come out. Maybe it's just because we don't have it bolted up, although the other side I can pull out enough. Or maybe it's the bearing needs to get pushed back. I don't know. Let's uh-oh. Wonder if our axle is toast. That would be very unfortunate. Let me go pick that cone out. Because my understanding is this should be a press fit on the axle. Yeah, that doesn't look good to me. I don't understand how it would happen though. Yuck, I'm glad I put gloves on. Yeah, we just gotta pull the axle out, I think. Okay, I understand now. Obviously the bearing is in the other way. No, but let's get a slide hammer and pop this thing out. I definitely don't have the ideal puller setup for this. What we're gonna have to do is go get a new glove. But we're gonna have to thread this nut on and then use arms to pull on the nut. Ideally you just have an adapter, but I do not. This is just a little guy. Oh. Alright, out we go. We wanna not rest it on the seals. So now, man, look at that coarse spline. We can see our inner grease seal. Here's our bearing race, or cone as they called it back in the day. Whew. Yeah, that seal is cooked. Ugh, that is disgusting. Yuck. I don't think it's supposed to move around like that. Not an expert, but it does not seem correct to me. Yeah, I think we have a cooked axle shaft, unfortunately. Let's see if we can press this bearing off and investigate. Alright, to the press. It's about maxing my capacity out, lengthwise. And the next step up is not quite enough. sure we're not pressing on the nut too much. So we're going to try to press on the inner race. That way we won't destroy the bearing. Although we may need to, we got to put a bearing splitter on it because I can't get it with the arbor plates. You know what? There appears to be a lip that I'm on actually. Alright, that should do it hopefully. I mean, if we wreck this bearing, whatever, I'll get a new one. I'm not entirely sure how good it is at this point. That inner race is probably all warbled out. You see, there isn't much of a press fit. It was just, there's a little lip to get past, which is why I couldn't just yank it off. Okay. What in the... Why does it look like it was machined that way? I mean, I'm not going to complain if I'm just an idiot, but... So, it looks like it's supposed to be that way, which I don't understand. Because how would you press a bearing on that has that inner diameter over that giant lip? Did it just wear like that? I don't know. I'm going to see what pictures I can find and figure out if I'm just misunderstanding how this whole system works. That bearing wasn't really even a press fit either. It just came right off. So that's kind of why I'm suspicious. Alright, so I can't even find any really good illustrations or anything. So I'm just going to pull the other axle. I can't imagine it's supposed to be like that. There's no way. How would you get a bearing tight on that? Let's just go pull the other one. Alright. So you see this bearing is nice and stout. End play wise, well, not end play, but side play. Look at that old grease, that is just nuts. See, only back and forth play now, up and down play on the axle. It's got to be that axle just wore through. I don't know what else it could be. I'm just doubting myself because it looks like it was perfectly machined. Yeah, I think that's it. Although it's rotating on the axle shaft. Let's go press this off and see what we're dealing with. Okay, that one definitely felt like a tighter press fit. I got a feeling I'm looking for a new axle shaft. That's more like it. Although it's got a little bit of a lip. So I bet you those bearings that, I don't know, grease seized up or something, and there's a decent sized lip on that. I mean, you can feel it. Just catches a nail, barely. So, I don't know. It's probably good enough to run. I mean, it's not like this thing's going to be rolling down the freeway or anything, but that ain't right. It's just funny. It made like a really nice chamfer on it, so it's like, what? But there's no way it could be like that, so. Too bad. I'll have to see how hard it is to find one of these. I guess if I had a lathe, you could weld this back up and turn it back down, or you could find a machine shop to do it, which would probably be more than it is to buy a new axle. We'll see. Or a used axle. I don't think they make these anymore. Look familiar? I can hardly believe it, but I remembered junkyard right down the road from my house has a 52 Packard, which still has the straight 8, and from what I was able to find online, has the same axles, and I pulled the other side already. Drum came right off, so I'm not going to complain about that, but that looks familiar too. I'm going to pull the other side, and then I'll compare it with one of the axles I brought, and fingers crossed we lucked out, and I'm able to get these to work. So that would be, oh, I don't even need a puller. Look at that. Alright, I'm going to pull this one out and then we'll check her over. Alright, got them both. I'll check them out before I buy them, but I figured I'd just show this real quick in case anybody else in Boise, Nampa area needs Packard parts. Of Idaho, I should be specific. Got some trim and windows and stuff still. Looks like somebody was stripping this down to paint. It's kind of a shame it ended up here because it's pretty nice. But Such is life. It's like a good fuel tank, maybe? Anyways, I'm gonna go see if those are the right ones. Well, I can hardly believe we lucked out this much, but they seem to be identical. Man, that's awesome. I thought I was gonna be spending several $100s. Yeah, same taper, it would appear, and everything, so that's awesome. I think we got them out this far. I'm gonna just get some new bearings, and the seals are what they are. I'm not gonna be able to get them right now. I'd have to order them in and find new old stock ones or something. I don't think there are modern equivalents. I'll have to look, but I don't think so. But yeah, I guess it's about time for me to make a parts run, so I'll grab all those parts and we'll start reassembling. Alright, so here's our new bearing. It's a 25877, and I got the axles cleaned up. So what I'm going to do is press this on like that, which is going to be tricky because it's the other way. So we may end up actually just hammering this, because I don't think I can press that. Yeah, there's no real way to press that I can think of, so we're just going to go old school and use a drift. We'll work around the inner race, be very careful not to hit the cage, and get it fully seated. So let's do it. A pipe that's the same diameter would be ideal, but I don't think I have one. So we'll just walk around. This is going to take a while, so how about I just bring it back? Forgot I actually do have some scrap pipe, so this is what I was talking about. And it only hits the inner race, so that's going to make it a lot easier. Alright, we are fully seated, so now I'm going to pack this bearing full of just bearing grease. Probably should have done it before, but it'd be a little bit easier to do it before, but I also don't want grease flinging everywhere. So I'm going to pack that, and then I already cleaned up the one side that we're going to put this in, so we'll move on to that. Alright, got it all packed and got the race on, so let's slide it in. I'm gonna lube that seal. Not that it probably seals it all anymore, but might as well. Oops. There we go. Okay, so then the shims at the end play this way. I think there's a special fixture that you use to bolt down here and push against the brake drum setup. Let's just try putting the shims back that were in here before and see how we do. I'm trying to remember, did the seal go next? Not that it's really going to do any sealing, let's be honest. I'm going to have to check the footage. Alright, answer is no. It goes on after. But this shim is next. We just want to make sure it's nice and clean. I did grab the shims from the one in the junkyard, just so I had some more. Is this the only shims? I kind of think so. There was a gasket here. Actually looks like there still is one. Unless these were shims. This one is no longer. It broke, unfortunately, but let's just try it without and see what happens. So I believe then we had our seal. Then this, which I believe guides any leaks to drip down onto the adjuster and out instead of getting on the shoes. Sorry, I'm right in the way, aren't I? Okay, let's snug that down. Okay. I'm not sure what the fixture pushes against. It goes on here. Let me look up the service manual. Alright, so after looking at the service manual, it's actually a lot simpler than I thought at first glance. We gotta have both sides installed with the backing plate in, but all we do is we push our axle in all the way, which fully seats the bearing, and then we pull out as far as we can, and we're going to measure how much play we have, which Packard had a special tool that bolted on here. I mean, you could make it with anything, a plate and a rod or whatever, and you would bottom it out, screw the screw until it just hit that, pull it out, and then check with a feeler gauge. I have a dial indicator, so I'll just figure out where to magnet that onto, and then we'll measure it that way. But again, both sides have to be installed because there's a thrust block in the differential that gets centered, and I believe the spec is 50 thousandths, so we'll see. I'll get the other axle ready to go, installed, and then we'll check our end play. I don't know where I got 50 thousandths as a spec before. I think that it was talking about the shim thickness, possibly, I don't remember. So we are going to be looking for 4 to 7 thousandths. If I can get this to actually work. Always a fun game to line up the dial indicator. Okay, you're not going to be able to see this at all. I'll bring it in once I got it set up. Okay, so we're at 0. Okay, we have no free play. So let's take shim out of the other side, and then we'll recheck. So after looking at it, you actually add shims to increase end play, because what it's doing is it's bringing the backing plate away from the bearing race, meaning the inner diameter of the shim is bigger than the outer race of the bearing. So here's our end play. So we see that you can't see yet. Alright, so we're at 0 thousandths. And now we're at 7, so I may take away the thinnest shim on the other side, just because these are new bearings, so a little tighter is okay. So I'm going to take the thinnest bearing, and then we should be ready to work on the wheel cylinders and then fully reassemble. Alright, end play is good, and if I didn't mention it before, you only really need to check one side, because there's a, I think Packard calls it a torque box or something, inside of the differential. So it only, basically the axles are butting up against each other. So end play on one side is going to be equal to the end play on the other side. Alright, so we're ready to move on to our wheel cylinders. The only thing we don't have are the replacement seal expanders, these little cup things that sit on the ends of the springs. They're not strictly necessary. We have enough for a set, so I'll put them on one side. We'll use these, so I'm going to go wire wheel them real quick, and then they should be good to go. And I'll grab our new seals. Alright, our parts are fairly clean. I'm gonna lay down clean layer here. Yuck, look at that. That's so gross. So, let's start with this one. This one we'll put the expanders in. Get our kit here. There's the Riley part number. It's 15/16 diameter, so anything with that will work. Let's lubricate our bore a little bit with some brake fluid. Lubricate our seal a little bit. And the lip always goes towards the pressure, because when the pressure hits it, the lip is designed to expand and seal. So, there's our seal. Next we'll put our piston in. Then we'll reattach our spring to the expander. Actually, no, we will not, because these springs aren't designed to have them, so they don't have the lip, unfortunately. So then we'll get our, let's actually lube a little bit in here. Get our next seal, piston. I want these to kind of move freely. I think that should be good enough. You gotta figure if it's returning by just finger pressure like that, then the big return springs should be able to handle it. Alright, so we're gonna wipe all this brake fluid mess off. And man, look at that. Original boots. But we got new ones, so we'll put them in. Even though probably these are going to fail way quicker, because parts these days are not what they were. There's one. Now for number 2. Not many people really rebuild wheel cylinders anymore. It's kind of funny, because it's so cheap and really not that involved, but most people just want to get new ones, which I understand, but whoops. I mean, I guess they're cheap enough, but like new wheel cylinders for this are like 30 or 40 bucks, which, you know, that's a little much in my book. I'd way rather spend the time and the $5 or $4, whatever these kits were, and just rebuild them myself. The arm, where'd you go? Never took it out of the dang boot. Let's go put these in. Here are bolts. Oh yeah, we're gonna pop our adjusters out. Well, this shouldn't affect that. Just like I got these the wrong way. Grab the wrong side. The line exiting that way and the bleeder up. Here we are. Let's see if we can pull our adjuster out. Okay, so this should spin free. It does not. So I'm going to go get some vice grips on this. We'll spin it apart and lube it up with some anti-seize. So it's not actually super seized, but we'll hit it with some anti-seize just for good measure. This cap also needs to spin pretty easy, otherwise it makes it a pain in the butt to adjust. Oh yeah, feeling good. We'll just hit this with a little bit, way better. Cool. Go put that back in. Which way was this sitting? Oh, this way. Okay, so this spring's gonna be a bit of a bear. But that's okay. Okay. There we go. These need to go up. Well, we'll see. Which way did this go? I'm gonna have to check the footage. Alright, so this went like this. Which we gotta raise these up. Like that, I believe. And this can go like so. Then yellow was to the back, I believe. Oh, washer. Okay. Where did that spring go? I think deja vu. I'm pretty sure I lost this spring multiple times doing the front. I did this wrong, didn't I? Okay, I'm an idiot. That washer goes there. This washer goes there. Alright, so I've got our key installed. I've got both sides of the taper dry and clean. You don't want to oil it, even though it would make it come off easier, because you're basically defeating the purpose of the taper at that point, which is to be a press fit so that the drum doesn't spin and the hub doesn't spin on the axle. So, dry. We'll go on. This is going to be annoying with the key. We'll go in from the hub. There we go. The key in the rest of the way. Got the right socket too. That should fully seat it. 15/16 is what you need. Sorry, 5/16, not 15/16. Cool. Then we'll hit that with the torque wrench. These have a hefty torque spec. It's like 200 some foot-pounds. I'm just going to adjust it to where we have a little bit of drag, and do the exact same thing to the other side. I'll bring you guys back once those are done. Alright, so we got everything reconnected. I also went ahead and replaced this center brake line just because we're already this far, may as well. So I'm going to bleed the brakes now, and then we should be good to go, maybe, unless we find another issue. Probably will. Alright, brakes are bled. See, we got spinach there. And the pedal feels really good. Really stomp on it. Test our seals. Nothing blew up. Make sure we got drums spinning. Oh yeah. That one probably needs adjusted a little tighter, but we'll see. Alright, so it's time to torque the axle nut. The spec is 200 or 270 foot-pounds, so we'll torque to 200 and then go to the next castellation. The torque wrench did it, or the impact did it. Let's go to 270 and see if we went past there. Well, this only goes up to 250, so perfect. You see, I'm just a dead eye with the impact. That one we're gonna have to back off. Well, we just gotta go to the next slot, I guess. So to the next slot we go. We'll just go there. She'll be alright. Couple new cotter pins. We should be off to the races. Alright, so I think the last thing, well, last known drivability issue, well, besides the fact that it died on the road, which I think is related to this, is the stumble when you give it any throttle. I think I may have found it. So if we look at the accelerator pump, the problem is the bowl's empty because I just did this a bunch, so now the car's probably flooded, but when we give it full throttle, it goes straight down, but with the bowl full, when I go down, it hits about right here, and when I go, the plunger takes a second to go all the way fully down. And if you see, over here, we have that spring, which connects the accelerator pump linkage to the throttle opening. And if it's weak, it doesn't let the accelerator pump follow the travel of the throttle plates instantaneously. You can see it's kind of stretched out. So I think that our problem may be related to that weak spring, because what's happening, if I can hold the throttle open and film. Alright, let's see if I can show it a little better this way. So, what's happening is when we go full throttle, the only thing that pulls the accelerator pump down with the throttle is that spring. So you can see I can pull the whole accelerator linkage up, and what's happening is that spring doesn't have enough tension to pull it all the way down when you go to full travel. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is part of the issue. I don't know if that's all the issue. We may have other problems such as incorrect float height or something like that, which I didn't check, and I also didn't adjust our metering rods. So although I don't think that would cause the instantaneous stumble, could be wrong, but I think for now, I really don't want to pull the car back off. I may just get some wire and tie those together. I don't know what this spring is there for. It's for dampening, obviously, but I think it may be hindering us, so I'm going to just kind of bypass it for now, and we'll see if that helps at all. Alright, so here's what I did to kind of bypass that spring for now. Hopefully you can see that wire I have tied up. So all it's doing is just bypassing the spring and removing any of the dampening that it does, because that spring's all stretched out. So we will see if that helps. I'm hoping it does. Looks like we could adjust our choke to be a little bit richer. We'll see how it starts. Well, it'll start fine because I just pumped a full bowl's worth of fuel in. But let's see. Alright. Key on. Make sure we're out of gear. Right up. So let's give her. Yep, just died. I would say better. It's still cold, obviously. Still got a lean pop there. Alright, so probably not the end of our issues. It is cold, so there's that, but I don't think it should be stumbling like that. That's suboptimal. Alright, well, we'll see how it does on the road, I guess. It's probably going to die on us again, because I still don't know what was going on there. I don't think it's running out of gas. It should have more than 5 gallons in it, but who knows. Yeah, I don't know. Alright, so I drove it up and down the driveway a little bit. It's actually running a lot better, so I don't know if that helps. Let me flat foot it for you. A little bit of hesitation still, but it's not bad. I say, oh, and the brakes are 1,000 times better. Like, so much less sketchy. So I say we take her out on the road and see how she does. Did notice we have heater core leakage, so we're just gonna bypass that for now. But let's see how she does on the road. Alright, so time to take it on the road. Hopefully it goes smooth. Last time did not. I went ahead and did a quick alignment on it just to make it a little bit better. So hopefully it's not wandering over the road. And now we have brakes, so that's a plus. Let's take it to the gas station and see how it does. Alright. Looks like I have to adjust the alignment a little bit so that the steering wheel's straight, but as long as it's tracking, I'm happy. I think I gotta do a little bit more brake adjusting because she pulls a bit. Pressure, 40 pounds, 80 pounds. Definitely driving way better already, so that's good. Let's do a quick brake test. Yeah, it stops, so there's probably junk in the drums that we're gonna have to deal with, so they should wear away, although they were pretty clean. I don't know if first is synchronized. Probably not. Honestly, probably don't even really need first in this thing. It's got so much torque. When's the last time you think this thing was at a gas station? Alright, so now we'll see whether the hack job gas tank repair is going to hold. I think it will, especially with the liner. But we will see. So apparently, this gas tank whistles once you get almost full. I guess we're almost full already. It's whistling. Okay, I guess we have a full tank already. I put some in before we left because I didn't know how much was in there. So, all right, let's see how she fires up. Just like that. Low oil. Park brake works. That rattles the exhaust hanger on the back. I gotta replace that. I think I got one hanging around. Running awesome. Doesn't even stumble anymore. You can flat foot it, doesn't pop or anything. So I would say that's pretty close to driver status at this point. Obviously, we have cosmetic things to work on. I'll also be going through and replacing the water pump because the bearings are starting to squeal a little bit, and obviously any of the coolant hoses I haven't touched yet, those need to go. But at this point, I think it's probably a fine driver for close around town fun things. Next time we're working on this thing, I think we will probably start going through the cosmetics. We need to go through and inventory all the trim pieces we have. We're missing a bumper, tear the headliner out, all that stuff. And we got to decide what color we want to paint it. So factory color on this is a gray. You can still see remnants here, but I also really like this blue on the fuel cap, so I'm kind of torn between. Either one would be cool, but let me know what you guys think, and if I should stick with the original paint or maybe go with something a little bit more fun. So thanks for sticking around and working through this thing with me. Really happy with the progress we made, and I'll see you guys next time.